Yo, guys, it's Kyle coming at you from Bain's Film Reviews. Today, I'm sitting down with Dave Richmann, and we are going to talk about the movie Strays. This is a special segment that we are calling Thunder Buddies, and Dave is going to hopefully come on a few more times throughout the course of the year and talk about some movies that we both either really enjoy or really hate, or Dave likes, and I'll tell him why he's wrong, and that's fine. But I'm excited to have Dave on. It's the first time he's on the show. How we doing, Dave?
Good, good, good. Thanks for having
Uh,
me.
Yeah, yeah. Wait, I've been trying to get you on for a while, and then I was buzzed one day watching a movie and decided I was just gonna force you to do this. So I think I was, I think I was getting ready to watch. Oh, what was that called? It was Randall Park's movie that he just directed. That was really, really good, which is interesting because he's in this movie. But anyway, so we're going to talk about Strays. It's directed by Josh Greenbaum, written by Dan Perrault, and it stars Will Ferrell, Jamie Foxx, Isla Fisher, Randall Park, and Will Forte. And for the entire length of the movie, I didn't realize that that was Isla Fisher. I thought that it was Rose Byrne. I don't think that I've ever heard Isla Fisher's actual voice before, until that I didn't even know she was Australian. So
Yeah.
yeah, but I'm gonna start with you. I'm just gonna put you on blast right away, man. General impressions. What do
Ooh.
you think? What did you think about the movie?
It was okay. I didn't go in thinking it was going to be like one of the best movies, so I knew it was going to be, crude humor, dogs talking, so I was like, all right, let's see what they're going to do. So, um the beginning, it was kind of eh, kind of feeling bad for Reggie, because it's like, he doesn't understand anything, he just thinks
Hmm.
that Doug's being like the best owner. And you just like, from there, the minute that started happening, and I was like, Doug's a real asshole.
Yeah,
But
there's gonna be lots of foul language during this podcast because there's no way to avoid it talking about this movie.
yeah, there isn't.
I mean, Reggie thinks his name is shitbag. So,
Yeah.
um, anything else?
Um, I was I was pleasantly surprised with how well they did with the dogs. Like
Mm,
you wouldn't think that, you've got Jamie Foxx and you've got Will Ferrell, Randall Park, Isla Fisher. It's just like it's a weird group to have together, but it
yeah.
worked.
Um, so I didn't go. I went in expecting a very mediocre film. I thought I would get some laughs out of it. I thought it was hilarious. I think this is actually one of the funniest films that I've seen in a long, long time. I laughed from the very beginning where Reggie narrates his own story between him and Doug, um, to when he met Bug for the first time, when they meet, when they meet Hunter, and I forget what her name is,
Maggie.
um, Maggie. Um, I laughed at the entire thing. And you're right, they do make you feel bad for Reggie, which I think is important because it's not a stupid story. It's actually kind of a good story actually, where I mean you have a beginning, a middle, and an end. You have something that they're working toward, and they effectively achieve their goal by the end of the movie, as fucked up as their goal is. Um,
Yeah.
there's going to be spoilers in this. I mean, their goal eventually becomes to bite Doug's dick off, and they are successful in their journey. So it's hilarious. The whole thing was funny. I laughed so hard. The part that I laughed the hardest at, which seems maybe a little silly, when they first determine that they're gonna go bite Doug's dick off, and there's like the montage of them traveling from place to place, and Bug looks at the cat and he mouths "fuck you" to the cat. I laughed a little bit, and then he looked at
Yeah.
and then he looked at the woman and he mouthed "fuck you" to the woman. I lost it. I lost it.
Yeah,
Um,
that was
it was
funny.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Um, but um I don't expect necessarily good drama or emotion in a comedy, but I think you
Yeah.
got it. And I think it was pretty easy to develop considering it was dogs. We care more about dogs than we do about other people. Um, so it was really easy for them to make an emotional connection with viewers, and I think they did. But then the cinematography I thought was good. The entire thing was done from the height of a dog, and the entire thing is shot using low angle shots. So you're constantly looking up. And I think it humanizes the dogs in a way that you couldn't had you shot from a normal angle. So I mean, I think it's a really well done film. I don't usually give straight up comedies like really good ratings, and I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. But I'm gonna give this a pretty good rating considering it's a comedy for all intents and purposes. It's just your standard comedy.
Yeah.
Um,
I was well surprised when they were doing his backstory of him and Doug, and I really thought that they were just going to have him kind of talking and not have the dog actually talk. And
yeah,
then when
there's
you
a
know,
fly in here.
and then when
Sorry.
he actually started, and you actually saw the dog's mouths moving, that was, I mean, I know it's all CGI, but still, it was needed, because you're like,
Yeah,
you get to be with the dog a little bit more when you're like seeing that he's talking and saying these words, made it even funnier.
and like you said earlier, you said they did a good job with the dogs and like with the voice casting, and they did a fantastic job with voice casting. I never pictured Randall Park playing this role, and I never pictured what's his name? I'm drawing a blank on his name. He plays Olaf. Um, oh my goodness, I'm
Yep.
gonna look up. I'm gonna look him up because
Josh
everybody,
Glad.
Josh Gad.
Yeah,
Um,
Gad. Sorry.
yeah, his role was hilarious. He's a narrator dog, and Steph looked at me and just made this face. I was like, yeah, that's Olaf. That's a really weird role for him. Because people are used to him playing this very wholesome, and he is kind of wholesome in this role too. But he's narrating the fact that his owner is a serial killer and about to murder this woman he just met at a carnival. So
And they're
um,
just like, we don't have time for you.
he's like, nobody listens to you guys, or nobody listens to you, narrator dog. He's like, nobody does, but maybe they should.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
so there's like little nuggets of that where like it's silly and stupid, but it's also kind of emotionally and socially relevant a little bit more so than you'd find in a comedy. It's straightforward comedy. It's not a satire by any means, um, but it's really really good. And but furthermore, like the voice acting was great, but they did a great job with the CGI. I
Yeah.
mean, I can't think of another movie where they had to CGI something like to make it talk, other than like uh, Look Who's Talking.
Yeah.
I know that there's other films, but I don't know if I've seen them. So that's the one that I came back to. I mean, that's early '90s. Obviously, the
Yeah.
technology is far more advanced, but it's so good. I mean, it really looks like they're talking.
Yeah.
There was a
I mean,
there
you've
was a
got
couple. Good.
you've got like being with Vaughn for as long as I did, you've got, Air Buddies, and they were talking too, but that was not as close to, what they did in here.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think I ever did. Airbud talk.
No, the buddies did. Like I mean, after they did Airbud, they, beat the movies like a dead horse, and
Oh
just
yeah.
continued making them,
I
and
don't think I even saw the original Airbud movie. So
wow, that's a good one.
yeah,
That's a
I,
heartfelt boom.
I probably won't like it now because it's been out way too long. But
Yeah.
I'll have to add it to the list. But so I want to talk about three characters in particular. If there's other characters you want to talk about, let me know. But I want to talk about Reggie first, because I think he's an important character. Like I said a couple times, this kind of extends itself beyond a comedy in a couple moments, and it's emotionally driven at points where he thinks that Doug is very much in love with him, and it's Doug's his best friend, and
Yeah.
fetch and fuck is like a fun game for both of them. Um, so what did you think about Reggie?
I thought Reggie was going to be kind of, I saw like in the trailer, I saw the other dogs, and I was like, they're funny. Reggie's good, but I definitely started liking Reggie once he figured out that he was not, Doug's favorite person.
Mm,
because like he's a dog, so he didn't think. He just thought, hey, this is a game. We like this game, but I just felt bad because he was just so not there. He didn't understand what was going
Yeah.
on, and we all did. But I think they did a pretty good job with like putting Will Ferrell as that type of dog. Like they
Yeah.
chose the dogs pretty well because like I wouldn't have picked that type of dog for Will Ferrell. Like
I mean,
even Bug.
I don't know how they decided what dogs were what. Um, I get like the Australian Shepherd, like a very attractive dog. Like aesthetically, people would say that's a good looking dog. Um, so it makes sense that like she's like the sexualized female character in the movie. Um, but other than that, I don't really know how they chose which dogs went with who, or if they had dogs in mind and they just casted against the dogs. But regardless, um, so Reggie's hilarious. Will Ferrell is one of those actors that exists like on the fence, and sometimes he's very funny, and sometimes he's just annoying.
Yeah,
Um, he is in a lot of ways like what Jim Carrey and Robin Williams were, where it's constant overacting, but he tends to find roles that allow him to overact and it not seem out of place and not seem entirely ridiculous. And I mean, he's a talking dog. He's supposed to be ridiculous here, and I think that's okay. I think everyone can accept that he's like a bit of an ass and he's incredibly exaggerated because he's a dog. Nothing about this is
yeah,
supposed to be normal. Um, but I like that they try to make sense of it in the beginning where he's narrating and he goes, I don't understand any human words, but I can tell that he's happy. So like they kind of because you're going, he's speaking English. How does he not understand what he's saying? And then
yeah,
they just give you like that little bit. Again, it's another reason why it's so well written. They they piece those little things together. They fill those gaps in the narrative, and I think they did really well. And then Reggie, like you said, he's an enjoyable character. I think I think later, like you said, once he realizes his position, he is a little funnier. But I thought he was funny the whole time. I mean, just Will Ferrell's voice narrating as a dog was funny to me. I mean, it felt to me that so this is called Thunder Buddies for those who don't know. This is called Thunder Buddies because of the characters in Ted. Um, and the last time I laughed this hard at the start of a film was when Dave and I went to see Ted 2, where we missed the opening, like the first 5 or 10 minutes, because we laughed so hard we don't have any idea what happened. Um, and I was almost to that point here where they gave me just enough time to catch my breath here, and then I laughed again. So I know I missed parts of the opening, um, but I'm gonna have to watch it again. You'd think I wasn't picky about what I'm gonna get on DVD, but I have to be picky now because I have no more room. So this is gonna be one that I get on DVD. There's a few this year that I'm gonna get on Blu-ray that are deserving of whatever awards they get, and that's one of them. But again, Reggie's fantastic. Reggie's funny. He's he's a reflection of a lot of people in society that he's he kind of has anxiety in a lot of ways that people do, where he constantly is questioning whether or not he's doing a good job. He just wants to be told he's a good boy, um, and he's a reflection of what we see in society. And I kind of attributed this to students that I've had in the past, where maybe they don't come from the best home life, and their goal in life is just to please somebody, and they don't know how to do it appropriately. Um, so Reggie is very well written. He's a good character. He's enjoyable. He's funny. And then I want to move on to Bug. Um, the whole movie, I didn't realize. It just kind of escaped me. I call Steph Bug all the time, and I didn't realize this until we were driving home, and I called her Bug, and I was like, "Oh shit, that's the dog's name." So now it's even cuter because I'm calling you the name of a dog. So I'm going to continue to call her that. Jamie Foxx is hilarious.
yes.
Uh, I don't know what his current status is. I know that he was in an accident of some sort and he was pretty messed up for a little bit. I don't know
The
what's
last
going on
time
with
I heard
him.
anything is that he was recuperating, and that's pretty much it. They were keeping everything like on the hush hush. No one really knows what happened.
Mm,
I mean, we've got people saying that they went to visit him in the hospital, but that's it. They didn't really release anything.
yeah. Um, yeah, because like with Jeremy Renner, you found stuff out like every hour. You found new stuff out about Jeremy Renner when he had his accident, and then like you said, they kept this very hush hush, and I don't know what happened, and I don't remember the last time I saw Jamie Foxx in a comedy since like Horrible Bosses, and he's funny in that, but he has a significantly smaller role than like Jason Bateman and Charlie Day in them. So
Yeah,
this let's I mean, again, you don't see him, you see him as a dog, and it's just his voice. He's fantastic. He fits the
yeah,
role so well. He's like this manic, insane little animal. And again, they get into his backstory later, but not before it's too late, where he never goes so far as to the point where you hate him and you're like, why is he the way he is? And needing a backstory, but then they give it to you anyway, and it just makes him better. It adds depth to the character.
yes,
Um, but his first scene, I think they do the best job in the opening sequences for each of the two characters, Reggie and Bug. And when he shows up, he goes, "You want me to come around this fucking corner?" And he comes around the corner. He starts humping the trash and sniffing his own butt, and it's the funniest thing. Again,
yeah.
I laugh so hard. So, what did you think about Bug?
I did. I laughed exactly at the same part. Like, I mean, when I went to see it, there wasn't that many people in the theater because
Same.
I think I went at like 3 o'clock, and I was just sitting there. Not many people were laughing, but I guess they just didn't have the same appreciation for humor as I do.
Uh,
You know, but yeah, Bug was great. When he came out, that was awesome. And like before that, when Reggie's talking to those other two dogs and he's got the ball in his mouth, it's just like even funnier because like he's just holding on to that ball. But
yeah,
then when they take that ball and he just comes out of nowhere, and you think like these dogs think like, oh my god, he's the biggest dog in the world. Let's run. And then you see this little tiny dog come out. It was just great. They did a great job with casting him, choosing the dog, and just being as crazy as he was throughout the whole movie.
yeah. And it made it a little funnier because he's the same dog as Jameson. Um,
Oh yeah,
so the dog that lives behind us, same type of dog as Bug, maybe a little bit older, and but just as much energy. Just as he's like high strung and crazy, but like a good dog, like a loyal dog. So seeing him do these things, there were times when I like pictured Jameson doing these things, and it made it even funnier for me. And I'm sure that there were other people that watched these dogs do these things and be like, that looks like my dog. And that made it even funnier picturing their own dogs because it's just another way to connect with them.
yeah,
Um, and then they show you the younger, like the puppy versions of both of these dogs at some point, and like it just makes them even better. Like you're like, fuck, like they're cute dogs, and now they're even cuter because you saw what they look like as puppies. Like Bug's all cross-eyed and like weird looking. Like his
yeah.
eyes are like literally bugging out of his head, which is not how they gave him the name. But um, yeah, all the way around, really, really good. And then I don't think people are going to talk about this character as much, but I think he is one of the most important characters is Doug, who is played by Will Forte. Um, and I haven't done any research on him. I know him from something, and I can't picture what it is that I know Will Forte from. Do you have
So
any idea?
well, yeah, he's a Saturday Night Live alum.
Okay.
That's where he got most of his start. He did Last Man Standing on Fox. He does a lot of like voiceover work. He's very funny. Like I find him to be hilarious in Saturday Night Live. Like the way he can make characters, and whenever he was on, I just knew it was going to be a funny skit.
Mhm. Yeah, I recognize the face, and I don't. I know him from something. I don't know what it is specifically that I know him from. It could be a Saturday Night Live skit that I saw on Instagram or something because I don't watch that as regularly as you. because I
Yeah.
mean you were alive when the first season aired, so you have you've been watching it for the last I don't how long has it been on 50 years something like that.
All
So
right.
yeah,
Where's
so
the
I
where's the end button here? Where's that?
I had to do it at least
Oh,
once.
thanks. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but so Doug, what do you think about Doug? What are your feelings on him?
He was just, he was an asshole, like I tried to like sit there and like wonder like is he gonna have like a moment, where he's just gonna be like, I miss Reggie or anything like that, but it's just
Mm,
every time he sees Reggie, he's just like, fuck. And like as you can see, he blames Reggie for absolutely everything,
yeah.
losing his girlfriend, losing everything, and he just blames the closest thing. And of course, he's just scummy, so it's like, blame the dog. Why are you going to blame the dog? You're the one that's doing certain stuff.
Yeah, I actually think he's a really good villain. Like, I don't know if people usually use the word villain for comedies, but he's a full-on villain. Like his attitude never changes, which I really like. I like that he didn't have like an aha moment where he realized he was a piece of shit and like Reggie was actually just trying to help. Um, I like that he was the same all the way through. That he didn't ever have any development. He just got I mean, he got worse in a lot of ways. I mean, he didn't like the dog in the very beginning. I mean, the first word out of his mouth when he sees Reggie as a puppy is fuck. Like he doesn't want this dog. His girlfriend wants the dog. And like you said, he's now losing his house. He lost both his girlfriends, and he's losing the check from his mother because of Reggie, according to him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there's little instances where you see even deeper into what a piece of shit Doug is. Like when he's on the phone with his mom, he's like, it's bullshit. You didn't give me enough money this time. Like, like you're just an asshole all the way around. Like there's no
Yeah.
way anyone ever thinks that Reggie is the issue. Um, and like I said earlier, um, people like dogs more than people like people.
Yeah. I agree.
So you are always anticipating that he is going to do something horrible to Reggie. And there's like an added suspense to this movie, and it all comes from Doug. I mean, you never really worry when they get stuck at the pound. Like you don't really think anything's going to happen to them. You don't really think Bug is going to die when the hawk gets him. Like you're not actually concerned about these things. The only time you're actually concerned is like if one time Doug had hit one of those dogs with a bat, like people would have lost their minds.
Yeah.
Steph would have broke down in the movie theater, started crying. I would have felt bad. Um, so they use him to develop suspense and drama in new ways, and he's just a really good villain. I think that some actual movies that have villains, should probably take a page out of this book. Like he doesn't need to have that aha moment at the end. He doesn't need to come around and realize that he's been a dick the whole time. He he's just who he is. People don't change all the time.
No, they
So
don't.
so it's just okay to have a bad guy who is a bad guy, even if you kind of understand, like, yes, his world is falling apart. It's of his own doing, but still you kind of feel bad that is like it's just the slightest bit you feel bad that Doug's world is falling apart and you understand why he's frustrated, even if that frustration is misplaced.
Yeah.
Um, these three characters are fantastic. All the characters are fantastic. I mean, even the Hawk, like the Hawk has speaking lines, so to speak. And even in those moments, it's funny. Also, why was Dennis Quaid in this movie?
We don't know. They just added him, and he literally was Dennis Quaid. Like he
Yeah.
didn't. Like, and they just asked. They were just like talking about Dennis Quaid. Also, they were like, "Did we see Dennis Quaid?" Like, they added him to like a complete. But I think what it was, believe it or not, is Dennis Quaid made movies where he was a dog and he was multiple dogs. I think they
Oh,
were
okay.
called A Dog's Wish or something. And like every time the dog passed away, he would come back to another dog. So I'm maybe thinking that they added him into it because of that.
Is that
I
the
could be
movie?
completely wrong.
Is that the movie where the production got shut down because they thought they were like abusing the dogs? Because
I
I
don't
think
know. I didn't hear that part, but
I think it was him in the movie that had dogs in it, and like PETA came in and shut him down and said they were abusing dogs on set, and they lost like months of production time, and then they found out it wasn't true anyway, and they made it anyway. I don't know. I think that might be it. I didn't see it, but yeah,
yeah,
it's Dennis Quaid. He's an idiot. Like he's dumb in the movie. He like names this bird and he's like, "Oh, I needed that one." And then checks off just a box that says bird next to it. And he's like, "I've seen some crazy shit." He's like, "I'm Dennis Quaid. I've seen some crazy shit." He's just himself, but he's not credited as Dennis Quaid. He's credited as Bird Watcher, which is interesting. I don't know
yeah.
why he's not credited as himself or as Dennis Quaid, but he's very literally Dennis Quaid. He's got a maybe 30 seconds of screen time, if that, and it makes no sense unless what you just said is the reason they included him. Then it makes a little
Hmm.
sense, or he got wind of production and was like, "I don't need a big role. I just want to be in it because I think it's funny." I don't know,
Yeah.
but
I
regardless,
mean,
it was funny.
yeah. I enjoyed that part. I did like. I was expecting something to be funny, but then when he opened that book and it was just like, oh, I haven't seen that one, and it just bird. I was like,
Just Bird.
yeah,
Um, but I one of the things I really enjoyed about this was trying to name all of the voice actors because everyone they chose had such distinct voices.
yeah,
I mean, except for Isla Fisher, apparently. I thought that, like I said, I thought that was Rose Byrne through the whole movie. But like Randall Park has such a distinct voice.
yeah.
Will Ferrell, Jamie Foxx, Josh Gad, even Rob Riggle. Like he came on, and I was like, well, that's Rob Riggle, and that makes sense. He belongs in this role as like a kind of dickish police dog. Um, but it's you said it a bunch of times. It's very well cast.
Yes.
So,
Even Bug's girlfriend, like they did pretty good with her voice too. You
oh,
know,
Sofia Vergara,
yeah, that's the
yeah,
couch. Like that was just
that
great. Like,
that one I didn't get. It was the girls that I didn't get. But also she seems not out of place in the sense that she was cast poorly. She seems out of place in the sense where this doesn't seem like her type of comedy. Um, like
true.
and that's also part of the reason that I thought it was Rose Byrne was because this is her type of comedy, like Neighbors type comedy.
Yes.
She's into that raunchy stuff. She does very good with that type of comedy. She has good delivery. So I really thought it was her. But you said you had a couple things you wanted to talk about. Go for it.
Well, I definitely wanted to talk about we didn't really, we touched a little bit about him, but I personally think Hunter was my favorite character.
Okay.
Like I just enjoyed everything that they did with him, with the cone and the fact that like he was just like madly in love with Maggie and just
Mm,
didn't want to do anything with her because of the cone and just what they did with like the dog, how they chose his dog. It was just great. And then when they're eating the mushrooms and they're just going through all of their like, trippy moments, like I just thought Hunter was awesome. He
yeah.
was definitely my favorite character.
So Randall Park, again, I didn't see him in that role initially. As soon as I heard the voice, I was like, oh yeah, Asian Jim. But he was so good. His delivery was fantastic. He's very funny. I just didn't see him in this particular role. Um, but I enjoyed the howling thing. He doesn't know how to howl.
Yeah.
So he just says howling. And so Steph connected that to what's his name in Ted Lasso, where he yells whistle, whistle instead of actually
Oh,
blowing the
Roy Kent.
whistle. Roy Kent,
Roy
yeah.
Kent, yeah.
So that I missed the connection there, but I get the connection, and she thought it was very funny because of that. Um, I mean, they talk so much about his dick throughout the movie that it sh-
Yeah.
it it shouldn't have been funny by the end, and it was
Yes.
still funny. They didn't overuse it. They spaced it out enough so that every time they revisited it, it was funny again. Um, yeah, he was very good. He was not my favorite, but only because I thought Will Ferrell and Jamie Foxx were so good.
Yeah.
Um, Had they not been that good, I think I would have enjoyed him even more. He may have been my favorite character,
Yeah,
but it's weird. It's weird that Doug is actually one of my favorite characters because I think he's so well written. He's obviously garbage. He's a
yeah,
terrible person, but that doesn't make him a bad character. So I he's one of my favorites, honestly. And that's why I wanted to include him because I think he's well written and I actually thoroughly enjoyed the direction that they took his character.
yeah.
What else you got for me?
So, I mean, you've touched upon your favorite part of the movie. I think when you were talking about how you were laughing so hard in the beginning, I think that I literally was crying when he was talking about when Reggie was talking about when Doug gave him his collar or his handkerchief that he wears around his neck. And he was talking about how what did he call it? He was like when he called him his like his dick tears or something like that. Like I lost it. I'm glad I didn't bring popcorn into that movie because I probably would have choked. But like when he said that, I just you didn't think it was coming, and then they just threw it out there, and you're just like, I can't believe that. But that's something that he would do. Like that is a Doug move right there. Like it was that
And,
was that was probably the funniest part I thought.
and in that same conversation, they refer to Doug's dick as like his custard shooter. And
Yeah,
I thought that was hilarious.
yeah, they did a
Like,
really good job with the dick humor. It was pretty good with the
yes.
especially hearing it come from the dogs, because they don't know what these
Yeah.
things are.
Right. And they do touch on that a couple times. Like I said in the beginning, he's like, I don't understand any English words or human words. And then Hunter tells Maggie, he's like, you're so smart, you know, like seven human words. And she's like, actually, I know like 31. And it's really good the way that they touch on it. They constantly revisit that. And like you said, the dick humor is hilarious. They don't try to be highbrow, they don't try to be classy, they're not trying to beat around the bush. It's just dick jokes, but they find new ways. They've invented new dick jokes, and they do it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And I think there was a kid in our theater, not like a kid, like 14 maybe. And I mean, I went to see movies like that when I was 14, but I remember being uncomfortable watching those movies with my parents at that time. Like the two
Yeah.
movies that always come to mind. So Wedding Crashers and 40-Year-Old Virgin came out, I think, the same year. And it was I think it was it's the same year within a year of my mom dating Paul and my dad dating Kanae. And it was one of the first things I'd ever done with Kanae on my own. She took me to see Wedding Crashers and I was 13 or 14, and I was like, "Fuck, am I watching with
Yeah.
with this woman I've just met that my dad is dating?" And then on the same side, or on the flip side, I saw 40-Year-Old Virgin with Paul and my mom, and they had just started dating, and I was like, "I'm watching this with my mother and her boyfriend. Like this is weird." I still thought it was hilarious, and I still love both of those movies. But I can imagine. I mean, this kid laughed out loud constantly. He was like 6 or 7 rows in front of us, and I could hear him laughing.
Yeah.
And so he apparently didn't feel uncomfortable with his mom. Kudos to him. But it was pushing the envelope, bringing a 14 or a 15-year-old in that movie because school starts next week. He's bringing that humor with him to school next week. So
Oh, well, she'll definitely probably be hearing some unruly words coming from him and his friends.
I wish I could be a fly on the wall when someone writes him up for saying custard cannon or custard shooter or whatever. Um, but yeah, like we said it a bunch of times, we laughed constantly, and you always expect that lull in the middle, and I guess there sort of was if you want to look at it that way. They dive really into drama and emotion toward the middle of the film, but it doesn't steal from the comedy. And the other thing is they often show you too much in trailers. And I was
Yes.
sort of worried that this was going to be the issue with this film is they were going to show me all the funny parts, and then there was going to be very little left when I actually watched the movie. The one scene in particular was them eating the mushrooms, and then the police dog showing up. Like this whole scene has been laid out for us. It's not going to be funny, and there's so much more to that. They did a
Yeah,
really good job of editing that together to make it look like one thing, and it's something completely different.
yeah. The bunnies. That
The
was that
bunnies
was so
that
funny. Yeah.
I know nothing about.
Yes, that we don't know nothing about. Yeah, and every time they bring them up, they're like, "I don't know what you're talking about. What bunnies?" But yeah, it was those little things, and then you think like how they like wake up from their high and they just like see the carnage, and they're trying to like hide them and put them back together. It was just, it was definitely well thought up,
Yeah,
because it was a good movie. I really enjoyed it. I didn't think I was going to. Not gonna lie to you. I did go in there thinking I'm probably gonna laugh one or two times, but I was pleasantly surprised.
yeah. What was the movie that we just watched with Jennifer Lawrence?
Um,
Why
like I
can't I
don't,
think of
I
that? Why
yeah,
can't I think of names of anything?
I don't know. I really don't. But like I can think of, like I can see it, but like was it No Hard Feelings?
Yeah. Yeah. I always look these up and people tell me like a half a second before I see it. But yeah, it was no hard feelings. Like that was a little less funny than I anticipated.
Yeah,
I was really hoping to laugh from beginning to end there. And there were moments where it was just kind of boring. The intro was kind of slow and I didn't laugh at all in the very beginning. And I anticipated that with Strays. And just because it's so ridiculous on top of it, it's a comedy, but it's taken to another level of ridiculousness because it's dogs. But it
yeah,
reminded me of like Good Boys with dogs,
yeah,
which is ironic. He just wants to be called a good boy. But
yeah,
it's good. They're like very innocent, and yet they do some twisted stuff.
yeah. I mean, actually, to touch on top of that, what you just said, it literally is like you wouldn't think that they would make a movie about kids, like like doing that, you
Yeah,
know, and then they're like, why don't we push the envelope a little bit and make a movie exactly like that, but with dogs,
yeah.
you know? So, and it worked.
And I think it's
So,
interesting the people that connect themselves with these movies. Like one of the producers of Strays is Louis Leterrier, who just directed Fast X and he directed The Incredible Hulk.
no way.
Like that's a really random person to produce something like this, but the fact that he's made movies that people still kind of enjoy, they're kind of ridiculous. Incredible Hulk's one of the least watched MCU films, and people are kind of fed up with Fast and Furious at this point. Some people are, um, not us,
Yeah, we're
but
vested. We're
yeah,
vested.
why not? I've been watching it since day one. But the fact that he saw some merit in this film and it's so different than what he usually does, that just the fact that people believed in it from the beginning that probably shouldn't have anything to do with it is it kind of makes it more enjoyable to me.
Yeah.
All right. So any final thoughts? Anything you want to add?
Um, I guess I also liked the way that he found his way home. That was also pretty funny.
Yeah.
How he had those like landmarks. And I kept thinking to myself, like, we all know dogs and mailmen do not get to, like, they're just sworn enemies. But like when
Mhm.
he kept saying like the devil in the sky, I'm like, I'm trying to think because I wasn't really paying attention when he was like doing it. I saw the Ferris wheel, but at the end when he goes to visit Bug and the actual mailman comes out
Yeah.
and they're just cursing him to the heavens, I think that was the final just like nail in the coffin. Like this is a very funny movie. So
Yeah.
if I think if I have to for like a final thought, I would say if you want to go see this movie and laugh and have a good time and escape from the crazy world we live in, I think this would be definitely your movie.
Yeah. I agree. Did you see the mid-credit scene?
I think so.
The
I
one
did.
with the one with Doug in the hospital.
No, actually, I guess I didn't.
Oh, you see, you should know from watching all the Marvel movies that you stay.
Yeah, but I didn't.
But
I wasn't gonna think of that one. Like, I mean, I've tried. I usually get on my phone before, and I'm like ending, and I'm like, Shit.
Well, I'm glad I didn't ask you if there was a mid credit scene, because there was a mid credit scene, and it's kind of, it's not very funny. It's just a little extra, just like to show you what happened to Doug. Doug's like in the hospital, and the doctor's telling him we couldn't reattach the penis, and he just looks mortified because, like Reggie tells us 100 times throughout the movie, that's his favorite toy.
Yeah.
So he's kind of out of luck now.
Yeah.
But I agree with you 100%. If you want to just go watch a movie that is going to make you laugh constantly, go see this. Yes, if you want to escape from reality, go watch this. But also, if you want a movie that kind of mirrors reality in a way that you still don't have to think about it too much, this will do that for you. It has a good villain. It has good character development. It The cinematography is good. I thought the soundtrack was very funny. Wrecking Ball at the very end. I thought the whole thing was very, very well done. And with that, I want to get into ratings real fast. So I always do out of 10. If you want to do out of 10, that's fine. If you want to give me some other scale, like when Brian was on, Brian did it out of 100 hot dogs. So
No, I mean,
however you want to do this.
I definitely will stick with the scale, the 10 scale. I'd say about a 7.5.
Okay. We're pretty close. I thought about 7.5 because I feel like that's pretty standard for a comedy, but I think it had some elements that made it beyond just a good comedy. It was a good film. So I gave it an 8, or I'm gonna give it an 8. I haven't written the review yet, and that could possibly change, but I don't typically change ratings, so it's gonna be an 8. So as we wrap up, you get to plug yourself now. You know what that means? That's not like some crazy sex thing.
Yeah, but I mean, you know me, I don't really use social media like you do. It's just
Well,
there.
I mean, you tell me to shut up a couple times a week.
Well,
And
yeah, I mean,
hold on, before you say anything else, I just want to call everybody out. Two people specifically, Catherine and Steph. Not my Steph, different Steph. Yeah, Steph. Um, Stop saying, "Oh, don't make fun of Dave, poor Dave." He does the same shit to me.
yeah, but they know that you're just that just mean person, and I'm that nice
You
person that
started
everybody
it.
loves. Hey, you know what? But that's
Oh,
out of my wheelhouse.
that's really narcissistic of you. I'm just the guy that everybody loves.
Yeah.
Wow, Dave. All right.
And they're still going to continue to love me because I am the way I am. So, and you're just Kyle. So shut up. But I mean,
Yeah, whatever.
yeah,
Go ahead, keep going. Go ahead, plug yourself. But you're doing these like semi reviews now where you post some gifs, which I don't think you did with the last couple, did you?
I thought I did, but I'd have to look
I
back
don't know.
into it. But
I've unfollowed you on Facebook.
well, I mean, I guess if you want me to plug, I guess you could just plug that. But
Wow. Wow. Very vulgar. We don't use bad language on this podcast.
well, guess that's sign language, so that's good. But I just I'm just gonna skip most of mine because like I don't have a lot of plugs, and I'm just more into Facebook, which you can just find me at David Richmann. I'm gonna be all over Kyle's wall. He's gonna be all over mine, unfortunately, because 90% of my wall is Kyle and his 50,000 reviews. So uh honestly, if you're looking at Kyle's stuff, you're gonna find me. So, I will definitely be back, and I appreciate you having me on.
I mean, well, we're not done yet. I'm not kicking you off yet. We still got a couple more things to talk about.
Well, I guess we could. Yeah.
I mean, you don't have a choice. If you were to sign off, I'm just going to come to your house and make you finish the interview. It's just so you know. I know where you live. Um, but yeah. But I've been better with the reviews. I haven't been tagging you in as many because I've been trying to group them together so that so like yesterday I grouped like The Last Voyage of the Demeter and Blue Beetle together because those were two movies that just came out that I saw. So I'm trying not to tag people in as many things. And then I feel like if I don't post as often, I can tag more people in each one. and
Yeah.
it seems to be working because, like I said before, we actually, you know, started this. Like 6 people watch this, so let's try to get to 8. All right,
Let's
uh,
push it a little. Let's go to 10. You know.
maybe 10 or 12. I'm getting overzealous. Um, but so I'm not going to plug myself. If you found me on here, you know where to find me. Uh, but then I ask everybody all the time. I think I know what you're going to tell me. I think I know you well enough. I really hope that I'm wrong. What's your favorite movie?
What's my favorite movie? You know what my favorite movie is. You know, and
Go
you
ahead, say
hate
it.
it. So Forrest Gump is one of my favorite
Yep,
movies. So it's
yep, that
just
was the one.
something. It's just something that I just really enjoy. It's one of those movies that is when it's on, I can watch it from wherever it's at. You know, I don't have to start from the beginning. It's just I know you don't understand it in a way. Like I just like how they added a character that you would never even think about putting in those parts of history. You know, it's funny. It was funny. You know.
He's just the worst, just the absolute worst. I like Jenny better. Yeah,
Wow. No. I
Tom Hanks is great. The only thing I've ever seen
yes.
Tom Hanks in that he sucked in was Elvis. But that's a completely different conversation.
Yeah.
And then I want to ask you 2 more questions. So, best movie you've seen this summer and movie you're most looking forward to. It could be this year, it could be early next year.
So I personally think the best movie that I've saw this summer so far is the new Mission Impossible.
Okay.
Yeah, I was very, very impressed. You know, they're on what, number 7 now or something like that. So you would
Something
think
like
it
that, yeah.
starts to just go down, but like it was very good. And let's see, a movie that I'm looking forward to. Hmm. I mean, you know me, I'm a huge horror fan. I mean, they released that they're going to be doing another Scream, so I'm going to be, all for that next year. So
Okay.
that would be my two.
I actually really want to see The Nun 2 and The New Exorcist. Like those look like super creepy, messed up. I watched a horror movie this morning. Um, I don't even remember what it was called. Oh, it was called no, I think it was called No No, Nonno, and it was like super creepy. I watched it like 4:30 this morning. It was pitch black, and it's like about being home alone and hearing noises in the house, and it was like very real. And but the best movie I've seen this summer, hands down, one of the best movies I've ever seen, Oppenheimer. I know you haven't seen it yet. I know why you don't want to see it. You need to see it. You appreciate movies.
I do.
You need to watch this movie.
Yeah.
That'll be when I get on DVD or whenever it comes out on whatever streaming service because it will. Um, come over, we'll watch it. It feels like I've said it 100 times. It feels like 3 hours, but they don't waste a second of it. So, but yeah, so this was our first Thunder Buddies segment. I thought it went pretty well. You didn't seem nervous,
Yeah.
so that's good.
No, yeah, but I do want to touch upon that thing that you just said about the horror movie that you watched. So, yeah, I got up this morning, around the same time, and I'm just sitting in the pitch black room. And I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but out of nowhere, didn't say any words or anything, but my Alexa just started talking at 4:30 in the morning and scared me. Like
Well,
I jumped
somebody
up.
said something.
I mean, I guess I got a ghost or something,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I don't do that. I hate the jump scare movies like that. So I don't know. None I'll definitely go see because of the fact that it's part of this series that I absolutely love.
Mhm.
But The Exorcist, I haven't even seen the original Exorcist all the way
I
through
haven't either.
because it's I mean, I think one night when I was like, I don't know, 7, my aunt fell asleep with it on, and I woke up because she's like screaming, like I don't like, like I don't know, levitating off of the bed and
Hmm.
like for a 7-year-old to wake up in the middle of the night and see that, I'm good. I'm good. So yeah.
I'm actually excited for it. And again, the Nun looks good. I haven't seen the first Nun. I haven't seen the first Exorcist. Not for any particular reason. I just haven't gotten around to watching them. So I'm gonna have to binge those. Also, A Haunting in Venice looks good. I don't know what it is with the horror movies. They look really good. So I have to watch like Murder on the Orient Express and the other one, whatever the other one is, with Kenneth Branagh. So I'll have to watch all those in the next few weeks because they all come out, I think, with like next month. But again, that was our first segment of Thunder Buddies. We're gonna do this again. We'll pick a movie every couple months and we'll sit down and chat about it. And thanks for being on here with me, Dave. This was fun.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And to our 6 people that watch this, come on, let's share it on our, just share it, let us get out there so we can get popular and just keep doing this, because
It
sitting here for an hour looking at that ugly mug,
got to be some payment for it, right?
yeah,
Because I'm
yeah.
not paying you.
No.
I mean, I pay
What?
I pay you in friendship, which is the
Wait,
best
hold on.
gift. If
I
you
think I
want,
have I think
if
I
you
have the
want,
receipt.
I'll pee on you. We'll be PFFs.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Let's not do that.
All right, but again, that's it. Thanks again, Dave, and we'll see you guys soon. Bye.
Bye.